Okay, time for another Banggood unbagging. Now this product was sent to me free of charge. Now this is something I've always wanted to get into, and they just recently started getting these in on their site. Now obviously, like I always mention, looking at pictures online, it's hard to tell how good it will be until you get it in person. So as you can see, it's a carving set. Wow, actually it's looking really good so far. Now the biggest reason I was interested in this set was for this little guy right here. I have been interested in getting into making my own spoons. And you need one of these little curved cutters is usually the most common way to do it. Yeah, feels pretty good. Probably could be a little sharper, but we won't know until we put it to the test. And this set, which is kind of nice, they're calling it a 5-piece set because you're getting your pouch, 3 tools, and you're getting a leather strop, which is actually a very useful tool. And a lot of the guys I watch on YouTube on carving tell you this is a must-have. And what I've heard claimed is that if you have a strop, once you've got these sharp and you just keep using the strop, you're rarely ever going to need to put these to a stone. So that's why this set becomes essential for anybody who wants to get into carving. I happen to have a need for a new spoon. I just realized I was looking at this kit, it even comes with a little green rouge to go on your leather strop. So that's awesome. Anyhow, I'm not really sure the quality of these tools, and being that I don't know basically what I'm doing, this could be quite interesting. We'll see how it all works out. So let's go over my process. Okay, I've got a piece of cherry here. This is one of those Home Depot hobby boards. This one's 3/4 inch thick, 2.5 inches wide, and let's see. This particular one, I guess I must have bought a longer piece and probably cut it down. We're at 29 inches. Well, the toughest part about choosing a spoon is normally one would say this is too thin of a board. Well, the kind of spoon I'm making is not your scooping kind of spoon. It would be your stirring spoon. So this is going to be our model. And what works out perfect on this piece of wood is when I lay out this spoon, it will allow me to make 2 of them. So what I've decided to do with this project, cut this board in half, and I'm going to do 1 spoon mainly on the lathe, meaning that the only real carving will be near the end. Obviously, I'll have to scoop out the bowl. That'll be the bulk of the carving, and then I'll be able to turn the handle part on the lathe, and then finish it up with some hand carving, sanding, and whatnot. While the second board will be done completely by hand, which is going to be interesting because I think it's safe to say this is not a carver's choice for wood, and I'm not really sure the quality of these tools. So my inexperience, low quality tools, we'll see how this goes. So let's get to it. Okay, well I get those cut out. Almost blew it. I got a little too close to the line on these. So now one reason why, even though I'm going to carve one of these, I cut it out is, once again, I like to utilize waste. So these offcuts right here will be perfect for me to use for some pen blanks. So no waste. Okay, I thought I'd stop for a moment and do a quick little update. I've been fighting with these tools, and at first I was blaming it on the wood since I started off with cherry, and this is definitely not a carver's choice. So, to give the tools the benefit of the doubt, I switched to a piece of poplar. And while they cut in some ways better, this wood was fighting me so much it appears that you must cut it in a specific direction. You have to quickly determine which grain orientation you cut with. It was really strange to me, since my understanding is as long as your tool is sharp enough, it's not going to matter what direction. It should still cut the fibers of the wood just fine. Well, this tool worked a little bit better. However, it was still having problems, and a lot of it was because of that grain, as I was saying. You would cut one way and it'd be nice and smooth. Another direction, you'd have all these little torn fibers. So then the next option is to try the carver's choice in wood, some basswood, and see if these tools perform any better. Now, as I've stated before, I believe the biggest problem I'm having is this is not quality steel. Now, it's not flexible. I've determined that, but it'd be too hard for me to show you on the camera, but there are little, like, I don't know if you want to call those chips in this. So this needs to be reground, because one of the issues I was having that showed up, especially on the poplar, you would see little grooves in your cut if you cut a certain direction from the areas where there's missing blade. And stropping does clean it up a little bit, but I think I need to run an actual grinder on it. Help if I turn the knife to the right side. Okay, the spoons are finished and turned out amazing. However, I can't say that it turned out amazing because of these tools. Now, I went back in my word. This first one was done primarily on the lathe with all of the head and the bowl done with these tools. This one was supposed to have done entirely with tools. Didn't turn out that way. By the time I got to this spoon, I was so frustrated with how well these tools were working, or how poorly they were working, that I said no. I went ahead and put it on the lathe. I ended up using sandpaper to even carve the bowl, which is a great tip on cleaning these up. What I ended up doing is you could put these in a drill, but what I found worked even better is I mounted these in a drill press and was able to clean up a lot better. That and a drum sander. So back to the tools. Now, I made a couple claims that weren't entirely accurate, so I got to make sure I clear the air on these tools. I made some comments that they weren't cutting correctly because of the position of the wood, and I felt like that didn't matter. No, actually, that is a known issue, that when you're wood carving, you do have to identify the grain. The grain will tell you which way to cut. So it doesn't matter what quality of tool you have, it's going to fight you when you cut if you don't cut in the right direction. So that's not a negative on the tool. That's not the tool's fault. And the second issue that I was mentioning about how hard it was to use this, well, what I'm realizing is a more traditional way, or maybe even proper way to make a spoon or any kind of bowl shape, like a kuksa, is you would first start it with a gouge and get your rough shape. This is more of a finishing tool and not per se the primary tool. What's frustrating thing then is if you're going to make a set like this, they should supply at least one gouge to get you going. Then you have a complete set. Now, what still holds true is the only issue with these is the quality of the steel that was used. This blade will not hold an edge. It wants to fold over at the slightest bit of carving, and it's just unproductive. Because yes, you will have to routinely strop even a high-end tool, not as frequently as you have to with this, or nobody would probably be into carving. So that is the biggest issue, is if they used a little bit higher grade, the blade looks like it's thick enough because it's definitely too thin on the end where it's beveled. But I still believe, and I'm going to hold true to that statement, it is the quality of steel that is the fault of these. It can't hold an edge, so how can you cut with something if you can't hold an edge? So, with that being said, do I recommend this set? It still would say no, especially if you're a beginner, for the simple fact that this has gotten me so frustrating that I have almost no interest to continue carving, and that is the wrong thing you want to have happen. I was hoping to find something to be a good entry level that would allow you to do what you want to do, maybe not as good as an expensive tool, but well enough that you'd want to continue to learn. This set is so frustrating to use that it will ruin your whole desire to do wood carving. So I'm going to say no, you should pass on this, with the exception of the fact that for the price, you're getting a pouch, you're getting a leather strop, the rouge, and it's not a bad utility set if you're just going to use it once in a while. But other than that, I would say it's not worth buying. So I hope you found this video informative, and until next time, you take care.